Breaker Crunchers. It is Saturday night in Phoenix, Arizona, and we are the Couch Crunchers podcast, where we miss the first time but get them both the second time. I'm your host, Lance, the series sergeant. With me is Max, the gamer guy.
Hey.
Tyler, Captain Awesome.
Hey.
And making the jump from couchcrunchers.com in his first appearance on this podcast, we have Sam, also known as the Movie Mechanic.
Hey, great to be here, guys. Thanks for having me on.
So we're gonna have a fun night tonight. Thank you guys for coming on, and so tonight we're gonna talk about Phoenix Fan Fusion, and after that we're gonna get into Aladdin 3. But before that, we're gonna get into our Fab or Flub. So Fab or Flub is where we go over the latest headlines and we discuss if they're fabulous or flubulous. So, guys, first headline that I thought was pretty interesting. Captain Marvel. We all saw Captain Marvel, and we all kind of heard the frustration when we saw the Supreme Leader was just Annette Bening. But originally the plan was for the Supreme Leader to be the original comic accurate version of like a floating giant green head. So I mean, they had it written into the movie. It was going to, up to the last second, it was going to be in the movie. And then I don't know what happened. They just decided to not do it. Would you guys have rather seen that character in their comic accurate form? Or would you have rather seen them as the way they were?
Well, let's let our guest be the first one to speak. What do you think, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I will say that of all the problems that I found with Captain Marvel, having Annette Bening in person rather than a floating head on the screen, Zordon-like in Power Rangers, was not one of them. I think her being in person was a nice touch. I don't think having her as a giant AI figure would have been any better than what they did. There were certainly issues with Captain Marvel, at least as far as I know. So I think avoiding the big floating head, I think that's a fab idea.
Fair enough.
Tyler?
Yeah.
Max,
go ahead, Tyler. Go ahead.
Well, no, I agree. It's a fab for me. Honestly, I wasn't like going into Captain Marvel with this huge knowledge of her background. So I'm not somebody who's like, stick to the comics on this, because I don't really know them. But just looking at it, I have the same. That was the first thing I thought of too, was Power Rangers when I looked at the actual comic version, and I was like, this would have been goofy. It would have been, just kind of a little bit too over the top. And I liked what they did. Honestly, I felt like the Supreme Intelligence was kind of mysterious and kind of left you wanting to know more about like what the Supreme Intelligence was. And it made it interesting. I was a little bit bummed that they didn't include the Supreme Intelligence more in the movie. So, but fab for me.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull this up here and share it on my screen. Just a little image I found Googling real quick, but I don't know that I'm with Sam. I think of the problems with Captain Marvel, the floating Zordon head wasn't one of them, or not having it anyway. I want to say, I want to defend the floating head, but as goofy as Marvel is at times, I don't know that they needed to be this goofy. I don't know. I also am like Tyler. I'm not as familiar with the comic background as well, so I don't know. I think it was a good call to not have a giant head.
So it looks like I'm alone on the island. I mean, I was not very keen on Annette Bening. I mean, her as the character was fine, but I would have liked to see some progression into it. So even if she spent 80% of the movie as the human counterpart, but eventually turning into that giant green head, I think it would have added to I don't know. The problem with Captain Marvel is there was no real threat. And maybe by making her big and mean and everything, it could have added a little bit of an element of a threat.
Mhm.
So I am. So wait, are we going fab if we like that they didn't do it, or flub if they should have done it?
Fab as is, flub if they had gone with the original idea.
So I'm flub, but I wish it would have been kind of 50-50, because I think most people can agree Captain Marvel, its lack of a villain, of a true villain, was its downside. And I think it would have, in my mind, I would have seen it as similar as Doctor Strange when he's going through that time loop, right, in that movie, and he's dealing with the name escapes me right now. But he's dealing with
Dormammu.
Yeah, thank you. And he's going back, and it's just this floating like face, right? I see it as the same thing, because that made it seem like that character was bigger, and Annette Bening just didn't seem big enough. She didn't seem like a real threat throughout that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree on that. There wasn't really a great villain in Captain Marvel. There was no one that could ever stand up to her, and that was one of my big issues. Is she had absolutely no opposition really, other than her own psyche. But again, I don't think that a big talking head would have made it any better.
Here, here.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well, you guys
There's
can
nothing else
agree
to
all you
say.
want, but
Now, Zordon is cool. So give me a Bryan
well, I
Cranston
hated how they did him in the new movie.
Well, yeah, but Zordon's a good guy. He's not a bad guy.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying I like Zordon.
Yeah, me
Zordon's
too.
allowed.
I'm with you.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So I think this one, I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys think about this one. So Vanessa Hudgens is rumored to be in the running, if not the top choice for Matt Reeves' Batman playing Catwoman in that movie. I'm interested to see what you guys think of this, because I already know my thoughts, but let's start with Max this time.
I was gonna volunteer to be first, so that sounds good. I say fab, honestly. You know, I don't I don't like love Vanessa Hudgens. I don't hate her. You know, you've got Robert Pattinson, who he's done a lot of good stuff, but like he's a question mark. I have no problem putting another question mark in there. I'm fine with it. I think she's got the look. I think that her and Robert Pattinson, like look wise at least, would be pretty compatible for the roles, like with each other. I don't know. I think she's an interesting choice. Again, this is rumor. It may not happen. I know Vanessa Hudgens is on board. She was saying that like that would be her dream role. She would love it. But yeah, I think it's a fun idea.
I think that I'm going to say flub, and I haven't seen Vanessa Hudgens in a lot of stuff. The one thing that I have seen her in that I actually did like, but it got canceled after one season, was that show that was about the people who were affected being around superheroes. What was it called?
The Newsroom, the one where they're like reporters or something.
No. They were they worked for Bruce Wayne Enterprises, and they made like
Powerless.
Powerless, yeah.
Yeah.
So
You are the only person that liked that show.
We talk about this show on like every other episode, and I still haven't seen it.
It was kind of stupid, but I kind of liked it. I don't know, like it wasn't like my favorite show ever, but I was like, hey, I enjoy watching this. But anyway,
Well, it also has Alan Tudyk, and you man crush on him.
I mean, but you should. I mean, Alan Tudyk's awesome.
I agree.
But no, it's anyway, she didn't have like that kind of acting talent in that. She wasn't even the highlight of that show, which wasn't really a super high quality, like you need to have a lot of acting talent type of show. And so she didn't impress me. But the other thing is, I would also really like someone to play Catwoman who's already kind of like athletic and could maybe do even some of her own stunts. And I would like to see someone like that in the role. Because the movement and like the kind of the swag of Catwoman outside of like fight scenes and stuff should mimic someone, I feel like, who is athletic and can do some of the things that Catwoman can do. And I would like to see that from the actress. And I feel like she would just kind of give off more of a girly vibe than that kind of vibe. So
who's your fan cast?
Well, I had a fan cast for if they were keeping freaking what's his face?
Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck, yeah. And so like I was thinking either Kate Beckinsale or who else?
I love that actor.
Yvonne Strahovski.
Oh, you want her for everything.
Well,
I don't know about in that one.
Is that your celebrity crush, Tyler?
She is definitely one. She should be every guy's celebrity crush. Just first off. Yeah, no, like I liked either of them for that. I think that Kate Beckinsale would have been a great one for that role, though. She would have been the right.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, seeing her in being a vampire and stuff, she was great. So in Underworld. So yeah.
Okay,
so,
but that's your Ben Affleck version. What about opposite Robert Pattinson?
I haven't had time to think about that yet, so I'm not sure. I'll have to come back to you. You do your Fab or Flub. I'll come back to you.
All right, I'm going to say Fab. And the reason I say that is because Catwoman is and always will be an over-the-top role. And you need someone who has experience being over the top. And I think High School Musical is a perfect example. That is melodrama at its purest, you know. And Vanessa Hudgens was very melodramatic in that. And I haven't seen her do anything that wasn't melodramatic. And I think that's perfect
Nice.
for the Catwoman role, because it is an over-the-top role. I mean, think back to Anne Hathaway. She was over the top in that role, and it was a great performance, I think. So yeah, I think you want someone who's got kind of an exotic look, and
I agree.
And
Michelle
she's got to be
was
over the top
as well.
Over the top melodrama, because it is an over the top role. She's going in. She's using her sex appeal. She's using her athleticism to take over this kind of underworld, and really she's supposed to be on par personality wise with Batman. And if she's going to put up with Batman, she has to be melodramatic. And Vanessa Hudgens, I mean, honestly, I haven't seen everything she does, but she does a lot of musicals. She does a lot of stage acting, which requires over-the-top theatrics. And I think that's why she's going to bring to the role it's gonna work for her. And while we're on the subject, let's talk about Robert Pattinson for a second. Now, Christian Bale got a lot of the same kind of flack when he was cast for Batman Begins. You know, they're both British guys, kind of known for being, you know, heavy drama, but they don't really physically inhabit the role. Well, you know, you saw what happened with Christian Bale. He went on to produce 3 excellent Batman films. I think Robert Pattinson has the dramatic ability to carry this role, and the only question is the writing going to be there for him to tell the story? And casting, I think, with the DC films, casting has never been a problem. I think the casting you have for all the DC movies has been excellent. Aquaman, Wonder Woman, even people who will rag on Ben Affleck, I think they're missing the point. And they're not giving him a fair shake. And he did fine as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
he's my favorite. My favorite.
Yeah, he did.
Michael Keaton is a different character, but Ben Affleck, as far as the Dark Knight, is my favorite. And I know that's not popular opinion, but I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I think a lot of people agree with you, Lance.
I think the only character who was probably miscast was the Joker with Jared Leto. But everybody else, they did casting perfectly. Where they've always fallen short is in story. And if they can get a good script, get a good story, I don't think they'll have any problem filling those seats. I think even the people who are excited to see this fail will still show up and watch the movie.
I'm excited for it. I like these controversial castings because it's pretty rare that they come out and they're not good. So, and I'm with you, dude. Like, DC castings for the most part have been good. Even the ones people don't like, I've liked. But I don't know. I think it's cool. Cool casting.
So I've seen quite, I have young children that have watched those High School Musical movies and things like that. I've seen Vanessa Hudgens in other projects, and I just don't know if she has any sort of acting ability whatsoever. I don't like. I fear that, yeah, she may physically fill the role, but I don't think that she has the acting chops to, because Robert Pattinson, I'm actually okay with Robert Pattinson because I've seen him in other dramatic roles, Water for Elephants and Remember Me and things like that, where he's done a fantastic job. I think that he can fill those shoes if he puts a little bit more meat on his bones. I want to see him a little bit bigger. But Vanessa Hudgens just seems like an odd pairing. I don't want to see Batman the Twilight version. I don't want to see Batman the High School Musical version. You know what I mean? I want to see
it.
Batman.
Won't be though. I mean, I haven't seen Spring Breakers, but she was in that, and she definitely wasn't Disney in that movie. So I don't know. She's an actress. I think she can put on different hats. Yeah, she's done a lot of the innocent comedies and Disney stuff, but I think she can do more than that.
So if I had my pick to be Catwoman, it'd be someone more like Alexandra Daddario.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, come on! No way.
I don't agree with that casting, but
she's a worse actress.
Her eyes.
She's a way worse actress.
Oh, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all. She was in True Detective, and she's phenomenal.
Yeah, okay. Now we know why you think that's phenomenal.
But Rebecca Ferguson from Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, she would also be a really good choice. I mean, there's just some.
Well, she was also in, right?
She was also in The Greatest Showman. She was the girl who does the big "Never Enough" number. She's
right.
I think she's a little older though than Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, I think she's a little too old for that.
That's what I was thinking
for that pairing.
Okay.
So with my limited time to think about this, I would even think that maybe Alicia Vikander, or however you say it, might be a good option for it.
She's a really good actress.
The new Tomb Raider.
Yes, the new Tomb Raider.
Yeah, she would be good. I also like the girl from the Kingsman that had the legs that were blades. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Wasn't she the mummy?
Yeah, she was the mummy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like either of those choices. I don't hate the Alicia Vikander one because she is an extremely good actress, but there's something about her look that I don't think fits as much. But I don't know.
Well,
I like the Vanessa Hudgens pick. I actually think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I think
asking Max to hate something that DC puts out is like asking him to cut off his own arm. So
DC hasn't put anything out. This is a rumor.
I hear the audition process was just having Vanessa Hudgens come into the casting office and just say, "Perfect."
I think you've been practicing that all week, haven't you?
Hey man, as soon as I saw this headline, I was like, "That's per."
No, you can't even
okay, so I do want to say this. So Rebecca Ferguson and Robert Pattinson are 3 years apart in age.
Really? Which one's older? Who's older?
Robert Pattinson's 86. Rebecca Ferguson is 83.
Yeah.
What?
See, I don't think that works, man.
Close enough. I don't know.
I must be thinking of a different actress because
Rebecca Ferguson. She was in Mission Impossible.
She was in a couple Mission Impossible films.
No, yeah, and she's in Man in the High Castle, I think. Yeah, she's.
She is?
No,
if
that's
it's-
not the same girl.
That's not the same one.
No.
Yeah, I think she
very
looks
similar. And in fact, that girl from Man in the High Castle would work too.
Huh. Okay. It is the girl I was thinking of, and I totally disagree.
And Rebecca Ferguson's 35. But I don't know. Let's move on to the next thing. So
Yes, sir.
you
want the sergeant, series sergeant.
Lance the list master.
Yeah, let's go with list master Lance. I make lists all the time.
Master Flex.
Anyone who's been on our website in the last week, you've seen some lists from Lance.
Next headline is about X-Men, which is a hot topic of conversation these days. So Matthew Vaughn, who directed First Class, reveals that initially First Class was seen as a trilogy that was supposed to start with First Class and then go into a movie about a young Wolverine into Days of Future Past. And because Fox loved the idea of pairing Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender and Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy, having those pairings, they wanted to jump directly to Days of Future Past and decided to ixnay the young Wolverine. But if we would have gotten the young Wolverine movie, it's very possible we would have had Tom Hardy as Wolverine, which I know a lot of people, that's their number one fan casting. And now he's Venom, so obviously it won't work. But if you go back 6 years or whenever Days of Future Past came out, I think people would have been really excited about Tom Hardy. So let's start. So we've started with Max and Sam. So let's go to Tyler. Tyler, what are your, or wait, who went first last time?
It's Tyler's turn.
Tyler's turn. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, so I think it would be a fab. I would have loved to see Tom Hardy do that. And he would have been a great person to take up the mantle, honestly. I mean, a lot of the ideas that I'm seeing now float around about favorite fan castings for Wolverine. There's some good ones out there, but I can't really think of any of them that would be a better fit than Tom Hardy. I think he would be an awesome choice, and he has so much range. Like he can play most any character. I feel like he's pretty pretty solid actor. So I think it would have been fab. I would have loved to see that.
So fab to have made the movie.
Yes. Is that what we're doing? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're leading the pack, man. So.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna say flub. But it's a weird flub though, because I think that Tom Hardy would have been a really cool choice for Wolverine. But if they had done that back then, would we have gotten Logan? Would we have gotten Hugh Jackman in Days of Future Past? And those were like two of his best performances and two of the best movies that the X-Men franchise has made. So like to me, that makes it a fab that they didn't do it. I'm not sure which way to go here, but like I'm glad it didn't happen because Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. Now, if they want to recast it now and bring in Tom Hardy, I can maybe get on board with that. I think Tom Hardy would be great in that role, but I am so glad we got Logan. That is one of the best superhero movies I've ever seen. And I'm hoping that Joker will be kind of like it in the sense of you've got this like more artsy, character-driven movie that hopefully is going to be gritty and rated R, just like Logan was. Like Logan paved the way for a different style in superhero movies, and I think that it potentially wouldn't have happened had we done this.
Here's the flip side of that, though, Max. Is I think we still could have had Logan, honestly, even with Tom Hardy being a young Wolverine. I think we still could have had Logan eventually. But also, where would X-Men be now? Like, we could have a totally different X-Men that's like actually good right now.
I think okay, but it's funny that you say that because X-Men was liked until Apocalypse. They've only had like one bad movie, so like people saying it's
true.
bad.
No, I disagree.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
Well, okay.
I mean, the best
Days of Future Past was really good. Logan was extremely good.
Yes.
The last two. Okay, taking Logan out of this, the last two X-Men movies, I'm like, well, I could have just gone there and seen the Quicksilver scenes and left, you know?
Okay,
Like,
but
that's-
Days of Future Past was in that list. Like I agree, Apocalypse was a major disappointment. Apocalypse was not very good, but I don't know. Days of Future Past was really good. First Class was pretty good as well.
Yes, I don't agree with you on that one.
I know, but we've had this discussion several times, and most people have disagreed with you on that. Like First Class, I think was good. Days of Future Past was good. Apocalypse, no. And yes, Dark Phoenix isn't looking great, but it hasn't come out yet. We don't know if it's a dud or not.
Yeah. I'm going to weigh in now. So I think it is the way that it happened, the way that it panned out is fine. It's a fab that they did not make that movie. And there's a lot of reasons, but I'll start with, first off, Tom Hardy plays a very different Wolverine from Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is tall. He commands a room. He's very clear spoken. When Tom Hardy does an accent, it's very, he often mumbles through his parts. Bane is often unintelligible. They had to go back and reshoot all his audio so that they could make it at least understandable. The roles he does where he's not doing his native accent, he mumbles and he talks really fast, which is very different from the Wolverine that Hugh Jackman plays. And the fact that Hugh Jackman has the same physicality throughout his entire life, I mean, given that the first X-Men movie he didn't really train that hard for, but all the other X-Men movies he's really ripped and he's tall, and it's a very different Wolverine from the Wolverine we get in the comics, who's kind of stocky and maybe doesn't have the same persona that Hugh Jackman does. So if it were a different movie where we're not supposed to associate this Wolverine with Hugh Jackman, then I think Tom Hardy fits. But if you're trying to pair them up, they're not the same guy.
Right.
They're not even close.
I agree.
And I'm not sure what the story was supposed to be with a younger Wolverine. I think the way that they did the younger Wolverine in Logan, it was a home run. And let's talk about X-Men movie quality. So there's like 4 X-Men trilogies, and each one of them has a good movie, a great movie, and a terrible movie. For example, X-Men was good, X2 was great, X3 was terrible. You got X-Men Origins Wolverine, terrible. The Wolverine, it was pretty good. Logan, excellent. And then you've got First Class was good, Days of Future Past was excellent, and Apocalypse was terrible. And then, of course, you've got the Deadpool trilogy, which is kind of its own beast. But the first Deadpool was great. The second Deadpool was good. And I haven't seen the Once Upon a Deadpool, but it seems like it's just a rehash of Deadpool 2 with some.
Yeah, they just filmed extra scenes.
Yeah, they just added the Fred Savage bit from Princess Bride.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. But I'm curious to see which level of quality we're going to get with Dark Phoenix. It sounds like they had to go back and rehash a lot of it, or reshoot a lot of it, because it rehashed a lot of the same ground that Captain Marvel did. And they didn't want it to be the same stories, so they had to go back and change some things. But
apparently the end scene was in space and now it's on a train or something like that, from what I've read.
Oh, that's a fab. I'll tell you, that's a fab, because trains are way more interesting than spaceships.
Right.
Every movie that has a train in it, if you take that train away, it's boring. But if you put the train in it, it's like 50% better every time.
Except
I can't
for Back
tell
to the
if
Future
you're being
3.
sarcastic.
No, that is proven fact. That is true.
No, I agree. I agree. Unless you're talking about Back to the Future 3.
Oh, imagine Back to the Future 3 without the train on it. What good is that? Are they trying
the train
to
didn't make any sense? The train didn't make any sense.
What are you talking about? It's the Old West.
It just shows up, like all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm never gonna see Doc again, and a train shows up and he has 3 kids and a wife, and like okay, nice to see you, Marty, we're doing good, we're gonna take off now. It's so weird.
Spoilers.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
If it weren't for the train, there wouldn't be a Back to the Future 3. You have to have the train. Trains make movies better. That is proven fact.
All right. I'm calling for an episode where we discuss the amazingness of trains in film.
Yeah, we'll talk about that'll
All
be
right,
my
I'll
top
be
10
first
list.
in line.
It'll be my top 10 list.
Top 10.
There you go. Top
movies.
10 trains.
Top 10
right,
trains
so-
and movies.
So I am okay. Are we doing okay? I keep losing it. Are we doing Fab? The movie should have been made, or Flub? The movie it's good. The movie wasn't made.
I think we're just explaining it at this point because we've been all over the place with that.
I think we've been consistent. Fab means as was. Flub means they should have made the movie.
Okay, so Fab. For the sole purpose of, I agree with Sam that if you're trying to compare the different generations of actors, Tom Hardy doesn't fit. I disagree with Tyler saying that Tom Hardy has a lot of range. I like Tom Hardy. I have no problem with Tom Hardy, and I'll go see movies with him. But his best movies are the ones where he doesn't say a whole lot. Like Dunkirk.
Dunkirk was really good. Dunkirk was good.
But all the movies like Venom, I like Venom just because it's one of my favorite characters, but Venom had a lot of issues. And he's mostly mumbling. He's mostly mumbling throughout that whole movie.
Venom was one of his worst roles, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think he fits that role. Like physically, I think he looks awesome as Brock, but he mumbles throughout the whole movie, and I don't know why. I don't know if he thinks that that's drama. I don't know why he does that. Like, but
did you ever see Warrior?
That's the MMA.
Oh,
fight,
yeah.
the MMA one.
I love that one.
He was fantastic in that.
He kind of mumbles.
He
through
was
that movie
fantastic,
too.
but yeah, exactly. He mumbled in that one too.
No, I had never even connected that. You're right though, because Lawless. If you want to hear some real Tom Hardy mumbling, watch Lawless. Because man, you can hardly understand a word he's saying.
I guess it just didn't bother me. I don't know.
Well, it gives a sense of realism to his roles, but and I have no problem with him being Wolverine, but again, if you're going to line him up next to Hugh Jackman, who's probably 6 inches taller and much more well spoken, it's not going to fit.
Oh, I agree. They're not. Hugh Jackman is light years ahead of Tom Hardy as far as acting ability. Now, if we went,
I don't know about that.
Go ahead, Sam.
I said I don't know about that. I just think they're different kinds of actors. They're just
agree.
different styles.
If I had to pair now taking out the issue of height, because I don't know I don't know all these actors' heights off the top of my head, but if I had to take acting ability with Hugh Jackman, I think Taron Egerton fills that role a lot better, and he's my number one pick to pick up the Wolverine mantle. And they both have similar career paths if you think about it. I mean, Taron Egerton's now in this Elton John movie. He did the Kingsman stuff, and he's pretty much known for that, the high action stuff, and he does all these different stepping in of these roles and everything like that. Like, they're very similar actors in my opinion. But the height thing, I know Taron Egerton is shorter than Hugh Jackman, but I don't know if that matters in this situation, because I don't know. I think he would fit.
I think the audience is just going to have to accept like that Hugh Jackman's being recast, and it's just going to be a different person now. I
want Taron Egerton. I absolutely want Taron Egerton. He's my number one choice, and I hope that he gets it. But since we're talking about this, it just makes sense to go into this about Deadpool and Venom, since we're touching on X-Men and Tom Hardy and all these things. So for Spider-Man 3, Marvel is pushing to put Deadpool, that to be his introduction into the MCU, whereas Sony is fighting for Venom to be featured in Spider-Man 3, and they're kind of at odds with each other. I don't know why they can't do both, but if you had to pick one or the other, who would you go with?
I would go. I don't want either. But I mean, so like in general, I would want Venom, but I don't think Tom Hardy's Venom. I liked the movie, but I don't know that it meshes well with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But I think Deadpool, if I had to pick, I think I'd pick Deadpool just because Ryan Reynolds is freaking hilarious, and I imagine Ryan Reynolds Deadpool. I'm assuming Ryan Reynolds Deadpool alongside Tom Holland would just be so much fun and a joy to watch.
That would be good. Something I've always wanted though is I've always wanted a Spider-Man Venom versus Carnage movie. Like I've always wanted that.
Oh yeah, me too.
But I hated how the symbiotes fought in the Venom movie. Like I didn't like how the slimes just mashed against each other and did these weird like.
Oh, I loved it.
Really?
I loved every second of it. Oh yeah, how they were like trying to pull the host. Yeah, they were trying to pull the host from each other's body. Oh, I loved every
I like
second
that
of
too.
it. Oh, I
don't
loved
know.
it. Yeah,
just
fighting
didn't-
against was it Anti-Venom or Riot that he was fighting against? I don't
That's
remember.
Right.
But just watching the symbiotes fighting against each other and seeing the bodies kind of flail through the air and everything like that, like I thought it was fantastic. But Venom is one of my favorite characters. I mean, Venom,
hang on,
Ghost Rider.
Lance, hang on. If you like the way that they did the fighting in Venom, there are some great videos of people throwing cans of paint at each other on YouTube. I think you'd really get a kick out of that.
I probably would.
Especially if the paints are the same colors. Oh man, that would just be amazing. That would be right up your alley.
How would you do it though?
Okay, first off, the symbiotes have to be different colors so that you could distinguish them. I think if you did some like Matrix style slow motion cam where it kind of zooms in and pulls out and maybe does a 360 around the fight to give the audience a chance to catch up with the way that the battle is done, I think you have a better chance. Because remember, if you think back to like Transformers where all the robots are the same color, it's very difficult to distinguish who the bad guys are and who the good guys are. So they actually went back and they brightened up the color palettes for all the Autobots, and they darkened all the color palettes for the Decepticons, so that the audience could then see who's the good guys and who's the bad guys.
Well, I mean, Riot and Venom, Riot's white and Venom's black, so they're different. They're contrasting colors.
That's not what the way they looked in the movie. They looked like the same color in the movie.
Riot is mostly black. The thing is too though that like how does Spider-Man get in on that fight? Like he doesn't. Like the way that they have, Spider-Man and Venom fight in the like the 90s cartoons and stuff made a lot more sense to be enjoyable to watch. And I really wanted to see, the anti-hero Venom and Spider-Man go against this like really powerful symbiote,
What do you got there, Max? What is that?
So this is just a look at the two characters while they're fighting. They are very similar in color. Now in this image, it's clear like which one's which, but they are they're very similar in color. So I definitely agree with that, because I've had the same issue even in Transformers movies now, like sometimes not knowing who the heck is fighting who and who I'm supposed to root for. It's why, like, small spoiler for Endgame, when they go back in time and Cap's fighting Cap, one's got a helmet on, one doesn't. So you have a really easy time knowing which one's which. And yeah, they did a bad job here in this, distinguishing who's who.
So this is directly from the movie. Max, I'm about to send it to you if you could open that.
Yeah.
This is what I remember from the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly. Here, I have a better quality one of that. So let me open this in a new window here. Nope.
I loved it. I mean, the symbiotes are essentially suits. I mean, they're liquefied suits, right? And I loved every second of it because I liked seeing, the trying to rip the host out of the body. That's what I like most. Now,
is that just people pouring paint on each other? Is that what I'm seeing?
Here. Whether I'm speaking or not, we'll be able to see it now. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this image of Riot and Venom. And yes, they're a little different. You got like a more silvery Riot here, but it's too similar, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
see, I never had the issue of...
Yeah. Let's bring it back. Do we want Deadpool or Venom in Spider-Man 3?
I want Deadpool. For the sole purpose of it's something we haven't seen before, because we did see Venom and Spider-Man interact with each other in Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire. So we've seen it. Obviously not this iteration, but we've seen it. I have never seen Deadpool and Spider-Man live action on screen, and I honestly think that Tom Holland and Ryan Reynolds would.
All right, Tyler's gone. Let's dish on Lord of the Rings. Let's talk about how.
So
I won't let
would,
you talk bad about it. Not on my.
I know he could at least say, "Hey guys, I'm stepping out."
All right,
he's like, "I'm bored." So
he just had to go to the bathroom really bad.
Basically, I would love to see Deadpool.
I can't believe what you just said about Lord of the Rings. I can't believe what you just said about Lord of the Rings. Tyler, you
Gandalf
left.
sucks.
Hey, you shut your darn mouth.
Everything come out okay there, Tyler?
What?
Everything come out okay there? You stepped away for a bit.
Yeah, well, no,
it was like machine gun.
My wife kind of forgot what was going on in here and made the dogs all bark and brought a bunch of people in, and they're all yelling. I'm like, quiet down. So had to take care of that for a second. Sorry, guys.
Oh, we appreciate it. We're just
how big of a fan?
I'm glad I missed the negativity about Lord of the Rings.
Oh, there wasn't any. We're
how
just
big of
messing
a
with
fan
you.
Just messing with you.
How big of a fan is Tyler really? I don't see. Is there any Lord of the Rings back there?
Dude, that sword right there in the middle.
Oh, I can't tell what it is.
That is Anduril, my friend.
There you go.
Wow. Aragorn's sword.
King of the nerds right there. King of the nerds.
All right, so let's talk about here's what I want to see. I want to see Deadpool, and here's why. Because Tony Stark was this kind of quick-witted, protective father figure for Spider-Man, and I think Deadpool would be a faster talking, more quick-witted, very dismissive stepfather figure for Peter Parker. And
it would be fantastic.
It would be so hilarious to see Peter Parker trying to stand up to his new stepdad, in quotes, stepdad Deadpool, and tell him, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, hey, kid, go get me a beer.
Okay, so I just have to say this: if Deadpool is Spider-Man's stepfather, that is the fastest CPS call ever. The minute he goes full Winnie the Pooh, it's like straight to jail.
Well, hey, Deadpool's available now, so yeah, he could go after Aunt May. He could be legit stepdad.
If she's into ugly avocados, I guess.
Yeah. That was Middle Earth, by the way, guys.
Oh, show us again.
King of the nerds.
For the listeners, Tyler's opening up a map of Middle Earth.
It's this is from New Zealand, from Hobbiton in New Zealand. This is where I got this.
It's upside down, but it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
It's all good anyway.
But it's
you never can let Tyler go into Lord of the Rings mode, or else the whole show will be taken up by this.
Oh, one of these days, Tyler and I are going to be doing an episode solely dedicated to that. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's just going to be slideshows from his vacation.
I've got something going on that day, guys.
Well, actually, I should have you post the picture of me getting a picture with Elijah Wood at Comic-Con.
Oh, that was a really good picture. Yeah.
So let's do one more. Let's kind of step away from the Marvel thing real quick, because I know that we talked about this briefly in one of our group texts, and it created a lot of discussion, animated discussion. Rise of the Skywalker.
I got offended.
Rise of the Skywalker may reveal Rey's father.
It's about freaking time.
But I think this is where the separation between, so I think everybody's okay with that we finally figure out who her dad is, but they're saying that Rey is a product of a Han Solo affair.
What?
So she's Han Solo's daughter, and that Kylo.
Sam's such a good actor, as if he had never heard about this before.
What?
So Kylo learns about this at a young age, and it's the reason he is sent to train with Luke, right? And then Luke tries to kill him. We all know that part. Lando knows that Han Solo is Rey's father, and tells Finn and Poe, but Rey learns from someone else who knows who that is. I don't know. Finn, I guess, or no, Finn knows. I don't know who Rey learns it from, but but basically Rey is the last one to find out about all this, about her father being Han Solo, is what everybody's saying is going to happen, or what the rumors are.
Yeah.
And then the movie's just going to end with the Jedi and Sith, one of them crumbling, and that's going to be the end of the 9 movies or so that we've had, 8 movies or 10 movies or so.
right,
But how
hang
do you guys feel? Go ahead.
What Jedi? There's no Jedi left. They're all gone.
Well, isn't the whole thing like Rey's going to become a Jedi?
She's
that is what Luke kind of intends, like, because he says he's not the last Jedi in episode 8. But who knows where they're going to go with that, because I think their whole idea is that they're going to be changing up what the Jedi Order is, and they may be renaming it. That's what I think is probably going to happen. Yeah.
Well, it seems what I think is going to happen is because at the end of the original trilogy, I mean, Anakin helps, right? So I think that's going to happen with Kylo, is he's eventually going to come back to the Jedi side.
I think you're right. I just hope that doesn't happen.
I mean, it does seem like they're rehashing a lot of plot points. I mean, it's very Rocky and Creed style story writing, you know. I mean, they're going to rehash these plot lines. I don't know. I'm interested to see what Sam thinks, because this is kind of Sam's forte, is kind of breaking down these movies and the stories and stuff. Sam, what do you think that would do for the 10 movies as a whole? I'm talking about from Rogue One to Rise of the Skywalker.
I think this is a terrible idea. I think just for a lot of continuity reasons, Star Wars fans are notorious for criticizing the continuity errors. And I think this one is only going to introduce more continuity errors. I think story-wise, what good does it do to have Rey be Han Solo's daughter? Like, what does that... Only Han Solo's daughter. I mean, how does that play into her relationship with Kylo Ren? I mean, I don't get it, because she doesn't have... Han Solo's not the one with the Force powers. Definitely Rey is overwhelmingly more powerful with the Force than Han Solo was. And he's a good pilot, and I guess you could say that being that good a pilot could require the Force, but they never said that in the movies, so I think that would be a retcon. And I think they would have to retcon a lot of the stuff that they laid out in episodes 7 and 8. So I'll tell you that I came up with a theory. You guys saw the theory, and I know it probably couldn't work. I know that there's probably a logistical thing I'm missing, like the age difference between Rey and Kylo Ren. But if I had my way, Rey and Ben Solo would be twins. And Snoke would have been scheming in the background to take one of the twins. And so he sends these thieving junkers after her, after one of the twins, not knowing which one. He just wanted one of them. And the junkers are played by, of course, Nicolas Cage and Holly Hunter from Raising Arizona. And they go in there and they steal the baby. But now Holly Hunter is overwhelmed with her motherly instinct, and she just loves her so much. I love her so much. And so they take the baby. And this is Rey, obviously. They take Rey. They fly her out to some remote part of space, and they're hanging out with her, and they just love on this baby. But then things start to happen. See, Rey's got this latent Force ability, and it starts to look like the babysitter from the first Incredibles movie trying to deal with Jack. And, you know, Rey's floating around. She's teleporting in. She's phasing out. She's burning things up with her mind, and it's all too much for the poor Raising Arizona crew. And so they take their Jack baby to Jakku and leave her there with the junkers there so that they can, just distance themselves from the whole criminal enterprise. I think that would explain a lot of good things. It would also give you some callbacks to the fact that Luke and Leia are twins.
That runs in the line, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's how genetics work.
Hey, if we're gonna go with continuity, Luke and Leia are getting a little, into each other in episode 5, only to find out that they're siblings later. So I guess that shirtless scene could make it even more awkward in episode 9. Having spied on her twin brother while he's dressing.
Yeah, and then he looks over and he's like, "My sister." What?
So I'm going to go ahead and chime in here because I know Sam and I very much disagree. Well, anyway, kind of. I'm going to say this idea is fab. Kind of. I'm going to say I'm going to say fab, but because I've said on this show time and time again that I like the idea of Rey's parents not being anybody. And while this isn't that, it's still a step in the right direction. I know these movies are about the Skywalkers, so it's probably going to end up that she's a Skywalker somehow. But I have always liked the idea of her just being a nobody. I am a big fan of reading the Star Wars books and the TV shows, and there is so much more to the Star Wars universe than Skywalkers. And so I like the idea of her being Han Solo's kid from an affair. I don't think this rumor is going to be true at all. I think there would be some continuity issues. There is some groundwork for it. There's a little precedent, like how Han treats her. Kylo Ren in the first movie, or episode 7 anyway, when they talk about a girl, he's like, "What girl?" As if he knows about some other girl that's out there. So there's a little bit of groundwork in episode 7 that could make this a thing, but I don't think they would do that. Because I agree, if they're going to make her some, like with Sam, how you said, why would it be Han's kid when Han didn't have the Force? Unless they introduce some random girl that he had an affair with that does have the Force, But
they've
the report I read
said that the whole reason for this was to illustrate the fact that it doesn't have to be hereditary.
And I like that, but I would rather her parents just not be anybody then, so that it doesn't have to worry about the hereditary stuff.
Yeah, why does it have to be such in a bubble? Yeah, why does life have to be in this nice little bubble? Why does she have to have Han Solo? I get it's for story driving, but it's it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to, and here's the thing. This whole saga has been about the Skywalkers, okay? So having that connection has kind of been part of what has made it cool, right? But there has been things in the animated series, like Ahsoka Tano, for example. Everyone loves Ahsoka Tano, but who's Ahsoka's parents? They're not.
Doesn't matter.
And so they've added that element in, and everybody would love. If Ahsoka Tano showed up in episode 9, fans would freak out with excitement, right? And that would be an element where you could put that in there and be like, that's our non-connection, super awesome Force wielder from in this series that doesn't have the connection to the Skywalker family. But I feel like the main characters throughout the saga having that connection to through that family line is something that is what fans want and is important for a lot of people. And I like it. I like them having that connection. I would love to see them have something that connects, but I really hate the idea of Han Solo cheating on Princess Leia. I already had a hard time with them having split up in the first place.
Well, I think affair is a strong word. From the report I read, it was he did this during a separation.
But it doesn't matter.
Still an affair.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't.
A baby was created. That's about as intimate as people get with each other.
Well, okay, but they would have to recreate something because it doesn't match up. They were together up until 5 years before episode 7, and Rey is 19. So that it doesn't match.
Well,
Yeah.
I would say that Han Solo has always had the persona of being kind of not a playboy, but kind of a
scoundrel. Yeah.
loose on more, a scoundrel. In fact,
Yeah,
Leia
but that's
tells
a
him,
step
"I
backwards.
love you," and his reply is, "I know," like an asshole. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of his development, is that he goes from being a scoundrel to he's a lovable scoundrel first off, but then he goes to being a loyal general in the rebel army. So to have him then walk that development backwards, I don't think that people are going to respond to that.
No.
I
they-
certainly don't respond to
And they
that.
doubled down on it in Solo because he was super devoted to Kira, and he kind of left that part of himself and became more hardened later, and that was kind of the idea. But then I feel like they doubled down on him going back to being that loyal good guy when he met Princess Leia, and that was kind of his retransformation to come, like, wanting to be the good guy again. And so I feel like with Solo in there, it even reinforces the fact that he should not be that character who's
Well, I
having
agree.
there.
I agree. I don't think they're going to do that. And my fab isn't that I want Han Solo to be disloyal to Leia. It's that I just want Rey to not be a Skywalker by bloodline. Now, I have one more thing to say about it, but I don't think Lance has given his official vote yet. Or have you? I guess you kind of agreed with me.
I think it's too convenient. I don't want to see that. I don't like when things are just so convenient that it's like worthy of an eye roll. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel about this. It feels like lazy storytelling to me.
Well, that's just bad writing, as Deadpool would say.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I would like a little bit more thought put into it. Like, it's just to make Han Solo her dad, and then to say, oh, it's because he had an affair, or it just seems so convenient. It's just, I don't know. There has to be somebody else. I mean,
Corbin's
I would
in the chat.
accept
What's up,
more
Corbin?
that she was. I would accept more that she was created in a test tube, because that just seems like better writing than just happen to be Han Solo's daughter.
I can hear you there. But so we talked about this on a previous episode. And I like this. I don't think it's going to happen, but I like the idea of her not being a Skywalker by blood at all. But it can still be the Skywalker saga because of the following. So in the last Thrawn book that came out, Thrawn is from a race of people called the Chiss. And when the book has Thrawn and Anakin Skywalker hanging out together, and Vader too, it kind of goes over different timelines. And there's a point where Thrawn talks about the word for Jedi in the Chiss language, his language. And it translates to Skywalker. So in the Chiss language, Jedi and Skywalker are the same thing. So there's a theory out there that I love, and it's the idea that Rise of the Skywalker really is more like Rise of the Jedi. And so that now instead of being Jedis, they're going to be called Skywalkers. So therefore, it's still the Skywalker saga because Rey's a Skywalker, but not by lineage. So I really like that idea. Probably not going to happen. I think it's probably a little bit too far removed to bring in, this book that most people haven't read. But I still really like the idea.
Well, with saying that, I think we beat this one with the dead horse.
We beat it with a dead horse?
Wow.
Yeah, we beat
That's
it with
rough.
the dead horse.
I get the front legs. I picked it up by the front legs.
That's actually kind of impressive of us.
I know. Well, if you're John Wick, I mean, sure, they were live horses, but
Lance and I have Thor bodies now since Thor's fat. So yes, we have the strength with our Thor bodies.
hey, man, I'm looking the sexiest that I've ever looked. Everybody see my awesome shirt that I'm wearing tonight?
Approved by the Absolute Geek Podcast.
Yeah, so
Nice.
Kyle wore a Couch Crunchers shirt on the Absolute Geek Podcast last night, and now I am returning the sentiment and wearing an Absolute Geek shirt. So
Nice.
those guys are awesome over there. But
Also, here's another thing that's awesome, Lance, is at all of our panels, Lance went and he cut out his very own Couch Cruncher stickers that he was giving out as prizes to all of our panelists, our panel attendees.
check this out. Everybody see this?
Nice. Keep talking.
Okay, let's get into the next thing. So, Sam, Tyler, and I, which is one of the reasons we invited, we wanted Sam to come on with us, is Sam, Tyler, and I had a fantastic time at Phoenix Fan Fusion this last weekend, and Max, being in Colorado, wasn't able to attend, so I have asked Max to kind of do a Q&A a little bit about kind of what we loved, what we hated. I don't know if I really hated anything, but it was a fun time. So I'm going to let Max run the show from here, and then we'll after this we're going to get into Aladdin. But take it away, Max.
Sure. I think you're building me up too much there, man. I'm really not all that exciting with this. But I am, yes, like you said, I'm here in Colorado, so I wasn't able to attend Phoenix Fan Fusion this year. I was living in Colorado last year too, but it just happened that Fan Fusion was the exact same weekend that I was moving my wife up here. So I did get to go last year, and it was a lot of fun. So first of all, I want to ask I guess this would be more for Lance because you were there last year. How was it different from last year's Fan Fusion? Besides the lack of a fire drill.
Oh, yeah, that was huge. I would say what made it different was the panels seemed a lot more organized. Because last year it felt like there were so many panels and they were stacked on top of each other. This year they put little half-hour windows in between the panels, which was fantastic because it gave us more time to set up. It gave the people prior to us time to break down. It was much better. And then it seemed like the panels were just better in general. It seemed to be that it was a lot less talking heads, which I think is kind of a dying thing of just going to a panel and just listening to people talk.
Oh yeah, no, that's not as fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it used to be a big thing, but like you do that with San Diego and Chris Hardwick.
Sorry. My phone decided to turn onto a video for whatever reason.
But
it's weird.
So Sam, Tyler, and I, we put a lot of effort into building panels that were more fun in games than us just shouting off a bunch of facts and interviewing people and things like that. Like so we got really good feedback. Probably some of our best ones, I think, and I don't know if Sam and Tyler would agree with me. I think Superhero Tinder was huge. To the point where people were upset that it wasn't 18 and over. I heard that several times coming from the audience. But the level of interaction was just fantastic. Would you agree, Sam?
I had such a fantastic time. Now, I've gone to Phoenix, previously Comic-Con, now Fan Fusion for the last 5-6 years. And the panels that I've been to have been a mixed bag. And the thing that I enjoy the most when I go to a panel is, one, it's interactive. Two, there's a multimedia presentation of some kind, usually a PowerPoint or a game that people play. Three, it's insightful. In other words, they're bringing something new to you that you're not aware of already.
Right.
And four, you get to take something home with you. So those are the four elements, I think, to a fantastic panel. And I think we geared most of our panels around those. The two panels that I was most involved in creating were the superhero sitcom mashups, where we did Parks and Ragnarok, which was a mashup of Parks and Recreation and Thor Ragnarok. And I think the people who participated in that had a wonderful time. They certainly enjoyed taking something home from that event. The audience was for the most part engaged. But then the other panel, which which I put even more work into, and which I think was even better received, was the choose your own adventure, where we created a slideshow that was a branching story path, and the audience got to decide which way to go. You know, you choose Thor or Jane, and then you choose left or right or up or down or whatever. And they had such a fantastic time with that, and the endings were quite surprising for them. And they still got to take home stickers and other little knickknacks that we had there for them. It doesn't have to be huge, but I think it was something that they could take home, and I think they appreciated that. And I think
everybody loves free stuff.
I think everybody loves free stuff. I think
yeah.
everybody wants to go to. A lot of people don't know what to expect when they go to a convention like that. They want to be entertained from the time they get there, and for the most part, the entertainment falls on the cosplayers and the panelists. Everything else is just like a shopping, a unique shopping experience. But as far as entertainment goes, there's infinite entertainment in the people watching, and then the panels are the only other entertainment component. So I think we really brought our A game to the panels. I think people really loved them. We had people showing up in our Thursday night panel who were still showing up on Friday and Saturday night. We had people in our Saturday night panels who were showing up on Sunday. So people who came, they liked it and they wanted to see more. And I think that's a great way to sum up our experience, that we're going to bring more of these types of events to future panels. I'm already thinking of what kind of choose your own adventure story we can do for the next one. And I'm looking at Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock versus Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman.
All right, now you got Keanu in, and I'm gonna have to take vacation next year and come down.
Yeah, you will.
This one's gonna be. Is this gonna be Phoenix or for Tucson, Sam?
Well, that would be for next year. We still have some mileage left in our Thor: The Dark World choose your own adventure.
Absolutely. What do you think, Tyler? What was your favorite?
Well, my favorite, I think my favorite was probably the Walking Dead one that we did, where we kind of had people pick pick their own team of superheroes or action heroes rather, and they were put into zombie scenarios. That one was really fun, and the crowd got into that one. I think, though, that as far as audience reception, like Lance said, the Tinder one was very intense. Like, a lot of people were getting into it to the point where if someone said something negative about the person they wanted to swipe right for on Tinder, they were getting like personally offended.
Audible booze, man. Like, it was insane.
That's awesome.
So it was
that's awesome. We did one last year that was really fun like that, but it sounds like you guys had a lot more energy even than that one. We did that.
Oh, I upped the ante. So last year we did superhero swipe left or right, and it was just pictures of superheroes essentially. Yeah. And I think that if I remember correctly, did we pit them up against another person? You had to pick one or the other.
I thought that. Maybe this year. Last year, I don't remember.
That was the panel that got the fire alarm, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. We never even got into that one. So last year we did superhero swipe left or right, and it was just a picture, and you had to discuss whether you had to swipe left or right on the superhero. But this year, what I did is half the presentation, I gave each character a Tinder bio. So
nice.
And I borrowed some ideas from the internet, because who doesn't? But for the most part, like, I switched them up and kind of tried to make it a little bit more humorous. And I think people really responded to that. Like, for instance, Iron Man was into heavy metal and things like that, but in a more
that tracks.
Yeah, not music heavy metal. But it was just fun, man. Like, people were responding so well. And The Walking Dead and or Action Stars versus The Walking Dead was fantastic too, because I don't think that you had to be a fan of The Walking Dead to have fun with it. We just it got a bit out of hand at times, and I think that added to the fun of it. But
Well, it's essentially
I-
building your team to fight the zombie apocalypse, right?
right.
Yeah.
It was great, and we're gonna put some new twists and kind of freshen it up a little bit for Tucson. But I think it was an excellent panel, and we're also discussing possibly not even doing it with The Walking Dead, like making these same kind of ideas, but with other franchises. Like it'd be cool to do, I don't know, Pokemon through the world of like Labyrinth or something like that. Like,
Nice.
you know, like,
Nice.
and we can use different ideas and stuff, but the audience, I mean, not even everybody like really had to participate. Well, we had the whole audience vote, right? But it was pretty much us trying to be funny and come up with these funny scenarios. I think we had an audience member come up and give a scenario, and one of his, who was his, he said toe and blow because one of his supplies was a shotgun, and he was saying that someone was going to hang from a helicopter and use their feet to shoot the shotgun, and he called it toe and blow, and that became like a hashtag moment. Like it was just ridiculous. But we called him what did we call him? Johnny Utah.
Johnny Utah.
The entire time. He comes in a denim jacket, and it was just fun, man. It was a blast.
That's awesome. So my next question is going to be for Tyler. And if you guys have experiences like this too, I want to hear about them. I know that you, Tyler, had you got to interact with some celebrities. I know Summer Glau and Elijah Wood. Tell us a little bit about those experiences.
You know, those were fantastic. They were so much fun. They're freaking expensive, but they're so much fun. The thing about it was like, okay, I went and saw Jeremy Renner in New Zealand, and I got a picture with him, and it was kind of flat. Like we didn't say much to each other. We just stood there, took a picture. I said it was good to meet him, and that was pretty much it, you know? And I was like, I don't want this to happen again. I want to meet these people and have them have this be fun experiences. And when I went in there with a different mindset, I kind of watched everybody who was going in to get a picture with both of these people, and each one of them did the exact same thing that I did with Jeremy Renner. They just went up, said hi, stood there, took a picture, left. And when I went in there, and I Max, I sent you the picture. I don't know if you have it.
I'm pulling it up right now.
So I went in there to Elijah Wood, and I said, hey, can we just swing arms and dance around like hobbits? Like, he was like, first off, I walked up to him and I faced him instead of facing the camera. And he was like, what is happening? And then I asked him if we could do that. And his face kind of lit up like someone's wanting to do something fun. And he was like, you really want to? And I said, yeah. And he's like, let's do it. And so we did it. And then he was laughing, and he was like, he actually thanked me for taking the picture with him, you know, and it was like, you know, we just kind of had a good time, and it's a very short interaction, but you know, it was a fun time. And then same thing kind of happened with Summer Glau. I went in there and she didn't know if she could. We did a kind of a different pose.
I'm laughing so hard right now because I have the YouTube open on one side. And
I accidentally pulled up a freaking.
And we just showed everybody listening a picture of the fridge.
I know. It was awesome. An accident. It was an accident.
Awesome. It's a lovely fridge. It's for sale on Letgo if anybody wants it.
It's sold. It's sold. We sold it.
Oh, it's already sold. Okay.
Oh, it was awesome. We're like, show us a picture of Elijah Wood. Here's a fridge.
And here's the Summer Glau one.
So Tyler looks like he broke a hip.
Yeah.
Let's show that picture a little bit.
So you have I had like a couple of seconds to get down into this stance, right? And okay, in my defense, I do have a bulging disc in my back right now. Okay,
something's bulging.
So anyway, she didn't know if she could do this pose because of her jeans, you know, and but
great jeans.
Yeah, right. She does. She totally does. No, but then I kind of miss, I kind of missed the guess on how much space I actually had, so I couldn't like straighten my leg out. But it turned out fantastic. Still, I still love it, and she was so much fun. She, you can tell by her face like she's getting into it, and she was just surprised. Like she had that same reaction. Like, you want to do this? And I said, yeah. And she's like, all right. And she got down and did it, and then she was all smiles afterwards, and it was just a fun, quick interaction where I'm like, you know what? This person might actually even remember me later,
Yeah, next time she's coming to town, you get your picture for free.
Yeah, well, that'd be cool.
Tyler looks like he's about to dislocate a hip. Like his knee looks like it's about to just pop out.
Well, we need to tweet this at her and see if she'll say something, because she probably remembers it.
I don't think she has social media, but
fair enough.
But
it's a fun picture, though.
Yeah, no, that was super fun, and I think back at my Jeremy Renner picture, and I'm like, it would have been so much cooler if we were like acting like we were shooting bows or like doing something fun. But
yeah, like if he was coaching you how to shoot a bow, like you were his daughter.
Yeah, he's like, good. And then I could just put like a little bubble up there that says "Good job, Hawkeye."
Or you should have put an apple on your head and then have him shoot the apple off your head.
There you go.
That would have been fantastic.
That's hilarious.
But no, it was so much fun, man. I mean, even though you get like maybe like 40 seconds to like hang out with them, I feel like if you are these actors, from what I've seen of them, I always saw them as actors that had really fun, cool personalities, and when you are going to do that, even those short interactions can be really cool. So it was fun.
Absolutely. This time I didn't throw a fridge up on the screen, so
yeah,
that was a little bit better.
That was hilarious. I listened to about half of what Tyler said because of that fridge. I couldn't focus at all.
Oh, I don't blame you. I was like, crap, what am I doing?
It's a beautiful fridge. You can contact Max for the details.
It's not my fridge.
You could fit a human in it.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
Or a few Pikachus.
Punky Brewster taught us not to climb into fridges.
Unless it's a nuclear bomb, right? What is it?
That's not Punky Brewster. That's Indiana Jones and the.
I know it's not Punky Brewster, but
Punky Brewster was my first celebrity crush.
That was the stuff I wanted to hear about. I wanted to hear about Tyler's experience with the celebrities. I wanted to hear about the panels. So unless there's anything else you guys have to add, I'm good to move on to talk about Aladdin.
I do want to give a shout out to some of the
Kyle and Matt
best panels Kyle and Matt from Absolute Geek were absolutely fantastic.
That's fitting, really that they were absolutely fantastic on Absolute Geek.
Yeah, they were absolutely geeky. We kind of tried to tag team these things because we wanted the panels to be the absolute best that they could be. And having them on the Action Stars versus the Walking Dead, since they do a Walking Dead podcast, just seemed to be so fitting. And it was just a blast. The whole weekend was awesome. But I do also want to say the level of panels just was so much far and away better than it was last year. I mean, Anthony from our friends at Read a Comic Book, he did an animation domination podcast, and I was just laughing my butt off the entire time, where he basically just pitted two cartoon characters against each other. And there was some Supernatural podcasts. There was some podcasts or panels where they interviewed some comic creators and things like that were just absolutely fantastic. So I had a really good time, and it made me excited for next year. But it also made me really excited for Tucson, because I realized how much fun panels actually are. So kudos to everybody involved. Kudos to Square Egg, because they really put on a much better show. Like last year's show was great, but this year, like, they just stepped up the ante. I thought the guests were phenomenal. I thought the expo ran really smoothly. But just a great convention. I thought it was fantastic.
And I thought that they, first off, the level of talent that showed up was fantastic. Like, the art was so good. I wanted to spend like all my life savings there.
Right.
And
I
then
don't
they
have
had
any life savings because of all the cons I've gone to.
but they had they also had this whole section where it was like this Star Wars cantina, where, you know, people were just chilling out, taking pictures with cosplayers. There were so many good cosplayers there. It was fantastic. It was like and people are starting to not only get into really solid good cosplay, but also into like kind of a little bit comical cosplay, which was fun. They had some fat Thors show up, you know. They had this I walked past Slave Leia, who was getting a picture with Barf from Spaceballs, you know, like just all kinds of stuff like that. And they had some really good stuff too, where this guy came in with a huge Hulk Buster suit that was probably 8.5 feet tall.
That thing was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was.
I was doing
good.
My homework, watching that guy get into that suit, and I'm like, holy crap. And you could tell it was that he made it. Like, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was so good. And then they had just stuff. Some people had stuff that I'd never even seen before, but I knew that it was like really good cosplay anyway. And then they had some really good classics, like Final Fantasy VII made a big showing there, and there were some really good Eris and Cloud cosplay. So that part of it was cool too, because it made the whole atmosphere walking through the con really fun. So I hope they keep having people keep bringing that consistency with some really cool cosplay and some more of those booths like they had at Star Wars Cantina was really cool. So
Nice.
Yeah, it's just great. Max, I really hope you can make it next year, because it was just a fantastic time.
Yeah, hopefully. This year it's just too much.
I know, right?
Going to be in Europe for the last 2 weeks of this month, so didn't really have any more vacation time to spare.
dude, where are you going in Europe?
I'm going to lots of places. I can give a report when I get back. Not that it's super like nerd related, but it'll still be fun to talk about it on the show.
Bring back some pictures. Throw a couple of pictures of some different fridges in there, and then
we're gonna have to make that a thing now. We're gonna have to give reviews out of fridges instead of couch cushions now. 4 out of 5 fridges. No, I'm going to lots of places: Northern Italy, Germany, Austria, Spain, France, Rome. Yeah, it's going to be real fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Max is going to be one of those people that come back and it's like, oh, I miss that. This is how they did things in Germany.
They had just the best waffles. The best waffles are in Germany.
Well, considering I get back 2 days before 4th of July, I'm hoping I come back and I'm like, America.
America. All right. Well, again, thanks to Square Egg for inviting us, and thank you, Absolute Geek, for kind of tag teaming that with us. But now
you guys are making me real jealous for not being there.
We have to get into the main topic for the
Aladdin
night.
karaoke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can open your eyes.
So, I think I have a different opinion of this, judging by some of the texts that we've had going back and forth. I'm going to let Max go first on his views of Aladdin. I'm interested to see what you think.
Well, you can find my thoughts on www.couchcrunchers.com.
World Wide Web.
Yeah, I'm the one. I did the Aladdin review for the site. I gave it a 4 out of 5, and I think it was deserving of that. I really enjoyed it, and part of my score honestly could be because I Aladdin was my favorite growing up. As a kid, it was my favorite Disney movie. I've always really liked it. And so I went in with tempered expectations. I was really nervous considering how much I liked Aladdin as a kid. And it ended up being really good, in my opinion. I thought Aladdin and Jasmine were cast really well. I thought Will Smith as the genie was a lot of fun. He was smart and made it his own rather than just trying to do what Robin Williams did. It was Will Smith, you know.
I think that was the only respectful thing they could do.
Yeah,
right?
Genie was very Will Smith, like and that was in a good way, you know. Like he kind of rapped, "He never had a friend like me," you know. It was like a little bit more hip hop. I thought that was really good.
Are we doing spoilers or no? We hold them off on spoilers.
Lance?
This story is at least 2,000 years old.
Okay.
Well, hopefully everyone can hear Lance now. I noticed you were muted, Lance.
Lance, are we doing spoilers or no?
Listen, Lance is a genie in a bottle. You have to rub him the right way.
I had to fix my earpiece for a second. I apologize. Everybody can hear me?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah. I don't know how long you were muted, but I noticed you were muted, so I unmuted you.
Yeah. So I don't see why we can't do spoilers. Everybody's literally seen this movie already.
Okay. All right.
Well,
so
it's different, but we
always
always do spoilers anyway.
The same things happen.
Okay. Spoilers from here on out. Okay, so this is how I just wanted to jump in, Max, because when thinking about the genie, basically he was a blue Hitch. Like he was Hitch.
Kinda.
Like he was like he was the best friend in the background, trying to give it like love advice and like, you know,
the door scene. The door scene was ripped right from Hitch.
Yeah. Well, and then the end of the movie where they have
I just realized that.
The end of the movie, they have that wedding and they have the dancing and like it goes down the middle with the dancing. It was it was like so many things. It was like that was Hitch, that was Hitch, that was Hitch. It was the genie as Hitch. Like,
now I need to watch this again. I didn't notice any of that.
The door scene I remember
parallels were exactly they were all there. You nailed it, Tyler.
No, that's perfect, Tyler. I just now realized that.
But I didn't think that was a bad thing, honestly. I enjoyed it. So
nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. Will Smith's changes to the character were really fun. How pushy he was, you know, like using his magic to push Aladdin towards Jasmine. There was a lot of really good things about it. If I'm going to give some negatives, I can only really think of like two things that I didn't like. Jafar being one of them, and I'll get into that in a second. The other, it's weird. So Jasmine has a new song in the movie, and the song is good, I think, but it just didn't fit into the movie very well. Like, I like the song. I watched it a couple days ago, or maybe it was even yesterday. Like, IGN posted a clip from the song, and I was like, "Oh, I like this more than when I saw it in theaters." And I realized it just didn't fit into the movie. It's it wasn't fresh. So
this is my view on that because you know, Max and I are decent.
Are you going to stab us with that thing?
Oh, sorry. I just realized I was holding this. This is one of my vinyl tools to make the stickers, and I've just been flailing around. I'm lucky I didn't poke my eye out. So the song didn't fit because all of those songs from Aladdin have a very
brass band
feel to it. Brass band, like sitars and stuff like that. Like you hear some of the twanginess and stuff like that. Speechless, which is a song that Naomi Scott's Jasmine sings, so the guys that wrote that song, I believe, are from The Greatest Showman. They also wrote all the songs for The Greatest Showman, and it fits in that movie, but it does not fit the sound of what they're trying to go for in Aladdin. Not only that, but it was kind of funny when she's singing it in the movie. She thrusts her arms a lot and like uses a lot of emotions, and it was very Bollywood the way she was performing it. But it's not a Bollywood song. You know what I'm saying? Like it seemed. I don't know. It seemed like this movie. So I had issues with this movie. I loved Jasmine, I loved Aladdin, and I loved Genie, and I loved handmaiden. What's her name? Not handmaiden. What is
Dahlia.
Dahlia.
Dahlia. Thank you.
She's awesome. Yeah, Dahlia.
Yeah,
was awesome.
she's from. I remember from SNL. I think she was on.
New
or something
Girl.
like that,
She's
but-
on New Girl.
New Girl as well, yeah. So I loved all those people. I absolutely hated Jafar and Iago.
Jafar sucked.
Jafar was horrible. It's like when every time he was angry and he used all of his teeth like this, he looked like he was trying to crap.
Push out a turd.
He looked so constipated. And then Iago is just pushed to like one-liner of what
he was a parrot.
He's a prop, not a character.
Such a waste of Alan Tudyk. Such
Totally.
a waste.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It pissed me off. I thought everybody else in the movie was great. Will Smith, I think, did the best thing he could by not trying to recreate Robin Williams' Genie. He made it his own. I did have some issues when he was all blue. It kind of looked like his face was floating. Like the CGI wasn't very good.
Well, it was his face on a bodybuilder's torso on a whirling dervish of tremendous power for legs.
You could tell the CGI. I don't know. I feel like they could have used the same technology that they used to make Professor Hulk in Endgame. I mean, it's the same company. They should have access to those same materials. I'm not sure why they didn't. But the CGI just was not that great.
It wasn't as good as Endgame, but it's just the budget, I'm sure, wasn't there. I'm
Well,
sure they had a big
Disney
budget,
has-
but not Endgame.
Disney has the biggest, like Disney will put whatever money they need to into these properties because these live action remakes in Marvel and for the most part Pixar is where their money is right now. They haven't really had a misstep really with any of these properties. They've had a couple slight missteps with Star Wars, right?
You know, Lance, you're right. They aren't even making any other kinds of movies right now. They are only making Marvel movies, live action remakes of their classic animated pictures, and Pixar movies. That's it.
Right.
And Star Wars,
Right.
but yeah.
We literally have 3 live action remakes coming out this year.
Well,
And we've heard that the next year or the year after we're going to see Stitch. We're going to see Snow White.
Aren't they
We're
doing
gonna
Mulan?
see
Little Mermaid.
Mulan, Little Mermaid. That's all it's going to be like. And so they're not focusing any of their attention really. And then we've also learned they're shutting down Star Wars for a certain amount of time after this next one comes out. They're closing out this saga and it's going to be shut down for a couple years. So they're not.
I think
effort into
people.
anything else.
I think people are more nostalgic to their Star Wars memorabilia and action figures than they are actually to the movies.
Right. I agree.
Well, here's the thing too, is with the blue Will Smith and the CGI not being the best that it should have been. Will Smith's a huge part of his acting ability comes from, which is what obviously is a huge part of acting, but his facial expressions are very expressive.
He's a physical actor.
Yeah, and he had such a great scene at the
that
end
was like
of the movie.
that was a Bushism right there, man. Expressionative.
Expressionative. Let's put that on our next T-shirt.
Isn't that? I mean, that's a word, right?
Expressive.
Expressive.
Yeah, you said expressionative because expressive just doesn't cut it.
Yeah,
Cover how expressive he was.
yeah. I mean, I had to take it a step further. Okay,
Yeah.
just to
We gotta make it
explain what I'm trying to say. But no, seriously, he had such a great scene at the end of Aladdin where he gets set free. Like that was, to me, that was like one of the best scenes, if not the best scene in the movie, when he hugs Aladdin at that scene. Like he was really, really good at that scene. But then there was another scene where he tells Aladdin that, when Aladdin is changing and he says, you're breaking my heart, like he didn't have the facial expressions. He was not expressionative nearly enough. And
I gotta say something real quick, Tyler. I don't mean to cut you off. We'll get right back into it. But guys, we have a special guest on the chat right now.
Is it your mom?
Quantum Kyle is on the chat.
Quantum Kyle.
Quantum Kyle?
Quantum
Hey,
Kyle.
man, you need to clean up your language when you're at our panels, pal.
Quantum Kyle is in his house.
What's up, Quantum Kyle?
Okay, Tyler, continue. I'm so sorry.
Welcome, Quantum Kyle. No, I was just saying that scene could have been so much better if that had been bet. And I feel like they must have. I don't know how much they paid Will Smith, but I know it was a lot. And
he's the highest paid person in that movie.
Yeah, and he
lot.
he was underutilized because the quality of the CGI was not there. That's how I felt.
His best moments is when he's not blue.
Right.
I thought when he's singing Prince Ali, and it has a scene where he's dressed as a woman. I was laughing
that was hilarious
because I've never seen Will Smith like that, except for like Fresh Prince. But in this modern Will Smith, where he's like a serious actor and stuff, like I've never seen him like that. Like he was just fantastic, and I feel bad for really not being on board with his casting. You know what I mean? I feel like I was holding on to this idea that Robin Williams is the genie and no one else can ever be that.
Will Smith at the time of his life, he had so much fun in that role.
And dude, the guy can actually sing.
Yeah, he did a good job. But you know what? Going back to the blue,
he is a musician. Genie, that's kind of how he got started.
But he's not rapping when he sings Arabian Nights. He's not rapping at all.
Yeah,
and he actually is on tune, and he can hold his notes and stuff. He did very, very well. He exceeded my expectations. I thought every song from the movie was going to be in a hip hop type way, like converted to hip hop. You know what I mean? For him,
yeah,
because he's not known as a singer. I don't think I've ever heard him sing before this movie, and he did fantastic.
Well, he certainly did better than, say, Russell Crowe in Les Mis.
Okay.
Well, and like even comparing him to Emma Watson, and I really like Beauty and the Beast, but there was so much auto tune on her voice, and I didn't feel like there was nearly as much in this one because the actors could actually sing.
Yeah, I think we need more auto tune on the podcast. We've got to have Lance auto tune sing the theme to Aladdin. That's what we need right now.
Well, and then the other part is I felt like the blue genie looked the best when he was on the map and showing where Agrabah was.
That was awesome.
That was my favorite blue genie in the movie.
I like the callback when he's holding up like a transcript at some point in the movie, and it shows the original drawings of the characters. Did you notice that? So when he's in the map, it looks like Will Smith as the genie, right? When it's showing him as a little cartoon character on the map. But there's a scene earlier in the movie where he's holding up like a scroll, and it has all of them drawn out on it, and it looks like the original movie. And I thought that was a nice, callback.
That was a really nice callback.
But I liked the addition of some of the characters. I thought, what's her name again? Dahlia.
Yeah, Dahlia.
I thought
we can tell she made a real impression on you.
I thought she was a nice addition. Like, and the fact that there's always been this rumor from the cartoon that in the beginning the Arabian Nights song is sung by the traveling salesman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's always that's Robin Williams is voicing that character.
Yeah.
And there's always been a theory that the traveling salesman is the genie, right?
That's what I always thought.
It was confirmed. It was confirmed by the directors.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
So it was nice to see that they very solidly made that a plot point in this movie, to where it starts with Will Smith talking to his children, and it turns out he's, spoiler alert, married to Dahlia, and he had these two children, and he gets to live his life as a human being, truly free from the constraints of being a genie.
I really liked that. And I mean, maybe they'll do a live action sequel, but it appeared they actually took his powers away, because in the original Aladdin, Genie could still do all the magic, and he was, still
he shot off to Disneyland.
Well,
that was he had shot off to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was even as a kid. So this was my mind as a kid. But when they set him free and he was still super powerful, I was like, what if he turns bad one day? You know, like that was my thought, you know, and so I always kind of had a problem with that even as a kid. But
well,
like,
as a kid, I was always like, once I saw it the first time, I was like, why didn't he just free him originally, and then Genie could have just helped him as
yeah, I
a friend.
could have just exactly. See, you had a more analytical
because
mind
he
than
was
I did.
free. He was free, and he didn't want to help him because he's a dick like that. No, I'm just kidding. No, the movie was great. I honestly hope that first of all, if they do this, I hope that it's a different person playing Jafar. But I wouldn't mind seeing them do Return
of
Jafar, and then subsequently the 40 Thieves. It'd be nice to see a little trilogy because the Return of Jafar is probably one of the best straight-to-video Disney animated features ever. And you know what's sad about that is Robin Williams didn't even voice the genie in there, and that one still sticks in my mind.
I like the Aladdin sequels. The Thieves one, I forget the name of it now. The third one was
40
I love
Thieves?
that one. Yeah, the 40 Thieves.
I literally said it 12 seconds ago.
I know.
It's King of Thieves. It's not 40 Thieves.
Oh, see, none of us have it right.
I was saying hi. I was distracted.
I was just going off of what you said, Lance.
Hey, it's been
All right.
5 years.
Anyway,
here's what I want to do. I want to go back and like Aladdin. I think Aladdin is starting a trend where we're naming the movie after the least interesting character in it.
huh.
True.
So I want to go back. Let's name the movies, all the Disney movies, after the least interesting character in the movie. Jasmine was far more interesting. Genie was far more interesting. Jafar was far more interesting. The tiger was far more interesting than Aladdin. I want to know what's going on with that tiger more than I want to know what's going on with Aladdin. I think he was the most boring.
I didn't think he was like
he didn't do
uninteresting.
great. He was just forgettable.
But I thought he was good, but I do admit like there was a lot more emphasis on Jasmine, and so near the end of the movie, I kept thinking to myself, is she going to end up being the hero and not him?
She was the hero
in some ways, but like he still was the one that like got Jafar to turn into the genie, and then that made him But she was a hero in a different way. But I was kind of half expecting her to be the one to convince Jafar to turn into the genie.
Well, and Naomi Scott did fantastic. She was so good.
She was really good.
They added a whole storyline in the movie to where she doesn't want to be married. She just wants to be Sultan. They added this whole women's empowerment thing, and I thought it fit very well. I thought it was appropriately put in there.
Yeah.
But and by the end of the movie, for Baba to say,
You mean the Sultan?
Yeah, that's what they call him throughout the whole movie, Baba.
She calls him that because that means dad.
But Will Smith called him that. Aladdin called him towards the end of the movie, they were all calling him Baba.
I did hear a few people.
Oh well, that's how you say dad in a lot of cultures.
She goes, "Dad, what is Baba?" So we've been calling him Baba ever since. But the Sultan, by the end of the movie, gives Jasmine the ring. Says, "You are the future Sultan." So it was kind of nice to see, for my daughter to see that. She loved it. She walked away with the biggest smile I've ever seen on her face.
All right, you heard it here first. Jasmine is the leader of the 10 Rings. She is the Mandarin.
Yeah, speaking of the Sultan,
I'd watch that.
Speaking of the Sultan, his character was very different than in the Disney original movie. He was not so much of a caricature of a fat man, and he felt like a ruler in this one. You know what I mean? I
couldn't get over the fact of how much he looked like Detective Maloney from SVU. Did anybody else? I'm like, where do I know this guy? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Chris Maloney? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah. The main guy that used to be on SVU.
Now I'm happy.
Yes, that's right. His face looks like, and I know it's not the same guy. And then there was times that that Aladdin looked like Oscar Isaac. All these people look like other people. But
that's true.
People tell me all the time that I look just like Brad Pitt, so I hear you.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt looks like Benicio del Toro with seasoning. But No, it was a good movie, man. I would like to see more, but I would like to see them recast Jafar and give Iago the same amount of story presence as even Abu had.
Yeah.
I mean, Abu plays a bigger role in this movie than he even did the cartoon.
All right, here's an interesting bit of Jafar trivia. The guy who played Jafar in the first Aladdin movie played Jafar in all the sequels, in all the video games, and in every Jafar appearance, like even at theme parks, everything. He voiced Jafar in every Jafar appearance until they put Jafar in Once Upon a Time. That was the first time that somebody else played Jafar.
Really?
I did not know he was in Once Upon a Time.
Wow.
Oh, Once Upon a Time is the worst insult
It's the worst.
to pandering ever.
It is.
They're like, oh, ratings are down. Let's introduce another fan favorite character.
I stopped watching once they freaking brought in Frozen, and they didn't even like do anything unique with it. Ugh, I just got so tired.
Frozen
of
in
it.
and of itself is not unique. So
No, I know. I'm just
It
yeah.
has the best how it should have ended, though. Anyway, I going back to what you were talking about with how the movie started with Will Smith talking to his kids. I honestly was at first I was like, I don't think I like this intro. Like I like the salesman guy, and but then when the story played out and he ends up with Nadia, and I kind of saw why he was talking to his kids at the beginning of the movie. I was like, oh, that's great. I love it now, because I really liked Nadia's character as well. And
Dahlia.
and I like Dahlia. I'm sorry, Dahlia. And I really liked her character as well. Her name, I think I mixed it up because I read earlier her name is Nasim. So anyway, the actress's name.
Penrad.
Yeah, Medrad or something. Anyway, but yeah, Dahlia. She was super fun. She kind of plays a very similar character in every role that I've seen her in. She's in New Girl and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She's in a few. She's Jake Peralta's sister in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And then in this, she plays very similar characters, but they're all very likable, and it was just
a likable person. I mean,
yeah, it was one of those where you see her, she pops up on screen and you just start laughing because you're like, oh, it's great, she's in this movie, So,
you know what, you guys are all very likable guys.
Thanks,
well,
Sam.
thanks, Sam.
Well, thank you. Oh.
Yeah, we feel the same about you, man.
Pandering. He's pandering.
Well, speaking of likable, it's 2 hours from my birthday, so
hey, happy birthday!
Right. Happy early birthday! It's actually 4 hours away from your birthday.
Well, 3 hours for you. You're only an hour behind.
It's 8:48. Sorry. Yeah,
hey,
technically you were born in Arizona, so it's still 3 hours away for your birthday.
Is that how that works? Fair enough.
You didn't observe the Colorado time change when you were born, so
it's true. You're right. You're right.
Dude, you got to get back down here for a LAN. I'll throw you another LAN, man.
Yeah, I might be coming down in December. Not 100% confirmed yet, but
well,
anyway.
So let's real quick give our rating for Aladdin. I know Max has already said his is 4 out of 5. So why don't we do that real quick, and then we'll say what we're watching right now, and then we'll move on. We'll call it a night. Tyler, what's your rating of Aladdin?
I'd probably give it the same, a 4 out of 5. It had some really solid, things about it that were great. I really liked the genie for the most part, but then there were certain times where like his character just really missed with me as well. And then also the same criticisms about Jafar and Iago. I felt like they could have just been so much better, especially with Alan Tudyk, like you said, Lance. It was such a waste of Alan Tudyk, and they could have made.
Know it's Alan Tudyk.
You don't.
Nothing. Yeah, it's just.
I could tell just because I know, but otherwise, yeah, there's no way you'd know.
Yeah, there's no way to know, and he was such a smart bird in the cartoon, and it would have been totally acceptable for him to be that way in this movie because there were a lot of goofy things about it. and it could have fit very well. But there were a lot of missed opportunities, but also it did hit really well. I thought Naomi Scott was like, I don't know if I'd ever seen her before, but she was great. I felt like she had some of the best performances in the movie. And the look of everything was fantastic. Like all the scenery, there was a lot of love and effort put into making this movie look right. And so yeah, 4 out of 5 for me.
They did a really good job.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 3 Friends Like Me and half A Whole New World.
I like it.
I would probably give it a 3.5. 3 cushions and a throw pillow. Simply because Jafar was just so bad. The casting of Jafar distracted from a lot of the good parts of the movie. Any scene that even from the end of the movie where when he turns into a genie in and of itself, he just wasn't.
He didn't look very good.
Menacing enough. He wasn't. I don't know. He was horrible. And then just to completely disrespect Alan Tudyk like that, I think maybe he had 7 lines throughout the entire movie, whereas in the original, Iago was such a huge part. Gilbert Gottfried should be thankful that he wasn't cast as this, because it would have been humiliation to him too. But yeah, 3.5. But I'd love to see a sequel.
Nice.
A whole new world.
But so guys, really quick, I want to know kind of what you are watching or what you're reading right now. Something to kind of give our listeners of what they should be checking out. So Max, what are you watching or reading, or even a video game, what you're playing right now?
Yeah. So I've been watching a lot of stuff. And that's why Jafar was even worse, because a good villain is so important to me in a movie or a TV show. And Doom Patrol. I just finished watching Doom Patrol, and Mr. Nobody is so good, and that's Alan Tudyk. He is awesome. And so, yeah, Doom Patrol is what I've been watching. I was playing some Assassin's Creed Odyssey earlier today, but really I just want to talk about Doom Patrol. And I'm not going to talk much, but it is so good. If you're not watching this DC stuff, give it a try. I was actually writing my Doom Patrol review just before we came on, and I'll finish it up and put it on the website in probably a day or so. But it's so good. It is hilarious. It's got, Grizzled Geek agrees, Mike agrees. It is hilarious. It's got some decent action, but it's mostly like a dramedy more than anything. It's a lot of drama, but even more comedy. Like, without going into spoilers, there's a part where there's all of these butts that are released and start chasing after people. Like, so
Asses?
dumb.
Like,
no, yeah, like butts. Like that have like, and they have legs and they're running after people. And like,
see, I thought you were just talking about like my children when I tell them no, and they're like, but
no,
but that's what I thought you were talking
it's
about.
literally butts. They're like, the butts have been released. And I can't remember if they say butt or ass, but like, it's so, like, it's just goofy. Or the second episode where they have to go into a freaking donkey's butt in order to like chase after the chief. Like, and I don't want to go into like too many spoilers, but like, it's just goofy and so self-aware. The first episode, you've got Mr. Nobody narrating it, and he's like, I know, guys, you don't want to watch another superhero story. We're tired of them too. And like it's got that fourth wall breaking with Mr. Nobody and the narration, and it's so funny. And Grizzle Geek said Brendan Fraser makes the show, and I agree. Just so you know, this is not a kid's show. Brendan Fraser probably says "what the F" more than like any other line that he says in the entire show. It's kind of funny. Like, I saw this, you know that meme where it's got the kid concentrating really hard, and he's like, and it'll like say, when you haven't done whatever for 10 minutes. They have one like that, but it's like when you haven't said "what the F" for 10 minutes for him. But anyway, yeah, Doom Patrol is so good. You guys should watch it. And Swamp Thing, I watched the pilot of that, and it was quite good as well. But the DC Universe stuff is really good.
Sam, what are you watching?
All right, what I'm watching is Mob Psycho 100. It's an anime. It's available on Crunchyroll and Funimation.com. It's about a kid who has psychic powers, and he's just trying to be a regular Joe. He's just trying to be a nice guy, and he comes up against opponents, or some of them are villains, some of them are just other psychics who may be more misguided with their place in the world. And it's about finding your humanity. It's about the best thing I've watched in a long time. There's 2 seasons available. They're 20-minute episodes. You could probably get through the whole 2 seasons in a weekend. It's probably the best anime that there is right now. It's written by the same guy who wrote One Punch Man. It's a much tighter story, tighter narrative than One Punch Man. It was the web comic was only 100 chapters long, which is pretty short as far as manga goes. If you have not seen Mob Psycho 100, or you're just like, anime is dumb and I'm not doing it, you should definitely watch Mob Psycho 100. It's a gateway drug to the anime world, but I'll have to warn you, they're not all as good as Mob Psycho 100. What I'm reading right now is all the Shonen Jump that's available at viz.com. There's also a Shueisha, which is the original Japanese publisher of the Shonen Jump manga. You can find all of the Shonen Jump comics online for free at viz.com, or at the Shueisha Plus app that you can download for your smart devices. And when I'm playing, I play along with Jeopardy. I don't know if you guys have been watching Jeopardy, but they've had a champion for the last 31 games. He's won over $2.25 million. He's breaking all the records, and it's a lot of fun to watch this guy. So if you haven't tuned into Jeopardy for a while, it might be fun to tune in and see some records being made.
Nice.
We can talk about that stuff? Oh, then
Tyler,
you go.
Whatever.
Okay. Tyler, go. And
You're making the rules, Lance.
No, now I gotta.
It's our show. We talk about whatever we want.
I know, right?
Well, okay. So I'll touch on both things that you're asking for, Lance. What I'm watching and what I'm reading. So, I just got done watching the latest season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I have to say, shame on you, Fox, for canceling that show, because it is like my favorite show on planet Earth. But I'm so glad that NBC picked it up. And it was hilarious. Like I felt like it didn't deviate very much from what it was like on Fox, which is exactly what
the same production studios is making it, right?
I think so. I'm not like
the writing team's the same too.
Yeah, the writing team's the same. So it was very well done. And the character development through that whole series is just so good, and it's so funny. My wife kind of hates it because I'm so much like Jake Peralta, and I could be like clones of each other almost. And so she doesn't like that so much, but it's funny. And what I'm reading is Brandon Sanderson, guys. If you haven't picked up Brandon Sanderson, he's probably my favorite living author. R.I.P. J.R.R. Tolkien. But epic fantasy. If you're into like large epic fantasies, Brandon Sanderson is amazing.
He's the one that finished the Wheel of Time, right?
He finished the Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And that's because he got so much respect from his other works that are so good. And obviously Robert Jordan is very well known in the fantasy world, and picking that up means they there's a lot of faith put in him to do that. He just came out with a new book this year. It's called Skyward. I've been mostly actually listening to them on Audible, but Skyward is fantastic. I finished the first Mistborn trilogy. That was also really good. But where he shines, I think, the most is in the Stormlight Archive. Stormlight Archive is fantastic. I'm almost done with the third book, it's one of the things that makes it so good is it's it's kind of similar to Lord of the Rings in the fact that there isn't a single main character. There are a bunch of main characters that through different events meet up with each other, and it's very well built and put together, and how everything comes together is very solid. So check out Brandon Sanderson if you have not done so. He's a very, very good author.
I need to read again. I haven't read a book in way too long.
Well, dude, what I do is I just listen to it on the way to work, and I listen to it at breaks at work. And
yeah, I was listening. Even listening to audiobooks, I haven't been doing it as much. I'll do it when I go for runs and stuff, but haven't been doing that as much either.
Well, awesome. So so you guys know I watch a lot of stuff.
Yes.
But I just finished the newest season of Lucifer on Netflix, and it's absolutely hilarious. And it's a shortened season, so there's a lot more substance to it than you don't have those fillers of the week. You know what I mean? CW fillers is what I call them, even though the show was on Fox or wherever it was.
Hate that crap.
But I know it's annoying. That's what I hate about the Flash, because they're the worst offenders. But Lucifer was absolutely fantastic, and I'm pretty confident they'll come back for a new season, because I think a lot of people are. Netflix did a very good thing where they immediately got the rights to the first 4 seasons and put it out there and just had it on their front page, and we're just trying to drill it down people's throats to the point where I think it gained more fans. So I love that. My wife and I are in the middle of Maniac right now with Jonah Hill and Emma Stone. That show is weird. I don't even know what's going on half the time. Have you guys seen that?
No, I've been wanting to watch it, but
I got 2 episodes in, and I just got lost.
It's strange, man. It is strange. It reminds me of very much of a Philip K. Dick type story, but more sci-fi. It's like they try to cross the line between Blade Runner type stories and kind of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it's weird, man. It's weird, and it has one of the bloodiest scenes I've ever seen in my life. But if you're into the sci-fi stuff, that's a good thing to check out. I also just I watched the first episode last night of The Good Omen with David Tennant and Michael Sheen. The Good Omens. Thank you. Yeah. And that one, if you're a fan of Lucifer and Supernatural and stuff, that seems to be a really good show. It has Michael Sheen, David Tennant.
Amazon, right? Amazon Prime?
It's Amazon Prime show. It's called Good Omens. It just came out, I think, a couple weeks ago or something like that. But
the whole season.
Right? The whole season. Yeah, Amazon releases it all at once. I hope it's a whole season. I would hate to reach a point where there's no more.
Well, because I feel like the Tick, they released half the season. Sorry, and then the other half. So anyway, I digress.
Yeah, well, the Tick calls it part 1, part 2, essentially, but the Tick's canceled.
I know.
Got canceled.
Too bad.
But and then tonight, my wife and I, for the first time, we've never seen it. I just picked it up. We're gonna watch this one tonight.
Oh, good movie.
I have never seen it.
Yeah,
so I just picked it up. It was
Get Out. It was Get Out. Yeah.
It was $14 at Best Buy on 4K.
Jeez.
So I picked it up. I figured
that
was
deal. Best Buy usually charges $50 per 4K.
I know. I figured that was just a few more dollars than renting it from the Redbox. So I just bought it. But yeah, we're gonna watch that one tonight. And then we also just picked up Super Mario Party, so we're gonna play that one as a family as well. Which I'm pissed because that one does not work with the GameCube controllers. So they make you go out and buy $70 controllers for it to work. So that kind of pissed me off. But yeah, that's what I'm watching. If you guys like the show tonight, go find us on iTunes, give us a review, check us out on Facebook, check out the website. A lot of stuff has been coming out the last few days. But check out the website for reviews, for my lists as Sam puts them. Movie mechanic reviews are always just insightful and awesome. Sam does an amazing job with those, and we really appreciate everybody that's listening right now, and all the fans that showed up at the panels, and just the reception that we had was just fantastic. But yeah, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the World Wide Web. But I don't know. Do you guys have anything to add before we call it a night? We've been going at this for 2 hours.
Yeah, we're
Can you
good.
believe it? It is a good show, man. I feel like it, like 2 hours went by very quick.
Yeah, no, it was a good time, man. It was a good time.
So, but thanks guys for listening, and until next week, we'll see, or in 2 weeks we'll see you again, same time, same channel. Have a great night.
Yep. See ya.